So I am a stained glass craft fellow. I deal with historic stained glass windows. I remove them, clean them up, replace pieces that are broken, and generally trying to maintain a sense of history and artistic style that was there in the beginning. I was 17 in my last year of school. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and my teacher recommended me do work placement at this place called Room Glass Studios. So I went, I did it for a couple months. I actually stayed at long after I finished school. I didn't tell anyone that I'd finished, but I fell in love with it. So I went to college the year later to do an art course. I was asked back to do part-time work in that transition to this, but I couldn't imagine doing anything else, honestly. So this piece is originally from Maxwell Chapel. It is part of a three set, so it's three windows, the centrepiece being the most grand, to be honest. This part is the bottom, so it's probably seen the most stress under the weight of the rest of it because not much weight distribution because of the placement of bars. As you can see, there is ties at the top. They are copper ties, so for bars to loop round to secure the panel in the frame. So just hoovering off just means that there is the rubbing I'm going to be doing later is cleaner. So after I've done that, I will be taking the ties off. So to do that, I'm going to be using a paraffile to just clean off the lead, not clean it off entirely, obviously because it's a painted piece, I don't want to accidentally miss and scrape something. But what the paraffile does is remove any filth or anything like that, it cleans up the lead so I can put the soldering into it and take it off later. Now, usually we would just peel the copper ties off with a grip, but it's a painted piece, I don't want to risk breaking something under the pressure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up the soldering iron, just so I can melt the lead off and just slip the copper out. It's a much easier process. It's easier if it's a painted piece. If it's just a broken piece of quarry, I would just peel it off. So then we take a piece of paper, large piece of paper obviously. I'm having a bit of a struggle trying to get it over this. But yeah, so we just cut it into size and then just tape it down on all edges. So that the rubbing essentially is just so we have a record of what the panel used to be, so we can mark down any breaks and replacements, so that we have a general idea of what needs done. And it also helps with building. If you're not entirely confident on your building yet, it's essentially like a map of where to put things, what size of lead to use. So it is good when you start. Eventually when you start to get more confident building and you're soldering, you don't need to use one, it's just the laths at the corners so it's straight. Well, it's a quite a big place. We have 4 benches, so we do. Office next to the front door. A lot of natural light because we decided that at some point the artificial light wouldn't help us to trying to colour match because obviously it's natural light you're going to be seeing when you put it in. So a lot of natural light, couple of skylights. There's a lot of stained glass on racks at the moment and little cubbies that we just place it in, referring to the colour, so we can go back in later and match it if we have any, and we can order more if we need to, so they're all coded. There's a lot of A stands which we put panels on, no matter which stage they're at, so there's always a lot of stained glass and stuff. So taping down at its sides just means the paper won't move, and so it's just, and also so the paper is just flat and tight to the sides, so that nothing's going to move, and it's just a one-to-one. So this wee piece of black charcoal I'm going to be using, I'm going to take a lighter to it, melt it, and then rub that onto a piece of cloth. Now this is just what it seems, it's just a rubbing material essentially. So first of all, you go a light rub down from the corners first, and then rub in the middle. And so that just gives you a basic dirty rubbing. So it's no rubbing's ever clean, it's just a rough sketch if you like. Next, you'll go over it quite, not roughly, but harder than you would, so you can get each indent each piece of lead that's smaller, just each wee pattern on it. So, and going around it a few times just helps, just to solidify the teeny wee piece of lead that you probably wouldn't notice if you just did a dirty rubbing. Going round the middle part is tricky, because if you lean too heavily, something's going to break, and then you need to get out again, which is never fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that if we lose heritage crafts, then we lose a piece of our history. So, for example, thatching, that was a massive part. We would have probably drowned in our homes if we didn't have thatched roofs. If we didn't have stained glass, there wouldn't be the Sistine Chapel, for example. There wouldn't be a lot of traditional buildings that are loved. There wouldn't be cathedrals, the stonemason in cathedrals, a lot of stuff that is just a massive part of history. But honestly, I enjoy meeting different craft fellows and hearing how they got into this, because it's either they wanted to do this all their life or they just completely fell into it, which I think is great, because it's a sense of community of loving something that's old and bringing it back to life, and it's just great, to be honest. It's mostly just the fact that I get to see things from coming filthy, broken, and I get to see what they become, and I get a hand in their transition from dirty and grotty to something that's a literal work of art. Honestly, I would have a look at the HES website. There's a lot of opportunities there. There's a lot of interesting literature if you're interested in the heritage crafts. And honestly, just go for it, because it's an amazing thing, and once you start doing it, you will be addicted to it. You can't stop, honestly. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in school or the rest of my life. I just knew I needed to do something practical, because if I sat in a cubicle for the rest of my life, I was going to go insane. But this has been the greatest opportunity of my life, and it's all thanks to one decision I made to come here and just ask if they wanted help. So this is a small quarry which needs to be repainted because it's smashed to pieces, as you can see. Now, first thing we're going to be doing is cleaning the bit of glass with this bit of glass cleaner, so that the glass cutter oil just goes through it like butter, essentially. So the first thing you do is set the quarry on the piece of glass, make sure it's tight to the edge, mark the corners with a Sharpie, take a T-square, and make sure it lines up perfectly with the edge of the pen, and just score it right through. I'm going to do it 3 times each side. Make sure that the glass cutter is on the left, on the quarry side of the glass. And then what you want to just do is take the glass between your 2 thumbs, like so, and just snap it. Now, if you haven't applied enough pressure, the glass can just waffle a bit, in which case you need to get some grousers and it's not as clean. So ideally you want a clean break. And as you can probably hear, the glass makes a sort of screeching noise. That's the noise you want. That's how you know that there's enough pressure, and when you start to hear something crack, stop. So then just make sure that it is square to the piece that you've already done. As you can see, I'm quite proud of that, actually. So then it's pretty much just setting up. And this wee trestle thing is just to make sure that your hand doesn't go onto the paint and ruin it, because then you need to start over again. That's not fun. So then you just need to kind of load up your paintbrush. So you do, make sure that that's nice, thick and consistent. So do. Just trying to mimic the lines here. Just trying to go through. There is wee jagged edges like thorns in the lines, as you can see there. So just trying to do that. There is some leaf-like looking things in the middle between the thorns, and there is a sort of star looking thing in the middle. So I'm just going to do that in quickly, because doing that when I've done the borders is going to be a lot trickier. And because it's full in, if the paint goes all the way into the middle, it's not an outline, I will be doing an outline first and then just sort of filling in the blank. The star, however, is going to be painted separate because that has been coloured yellow at some point. So just running along the edges. It is a bit tricky to try and do straight lines when it's your first, at least for me, it's my first time doing this. So a straight line is a bit tricky to do. You can go over it again and just pin it up. I won't be doing that today, just to see how well my lines are for now, see what I can improve on, etc. But pinning up is essentially just taking a wee wooden poker and just scratching out the pieces that go over the line, essentially. But you want to get your eye over the glass so you can see exactly where the painted pieces are on the piece underneath, so that you can just copy it verbatim, and then just run the lines straight across the broken pieces, and that should be it.